I just want to start off this video first by saying my thoughts and prayers go out to those that are currently or have previously already been affected by the coronavirus COVID-19 that's been going around and really kind of wreaked havoc on our country and on the entire world over the past couple of months. I personally live out here in California, and we have been on lockdown for about a month now, so it's been quite a while. I know myself, I'm going pretty stir crazy inside. I think a lot of people are as well, but this is a pretty serious pandemic that we're going through. So I just wanted to first start off by saying, again, my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that's been affected by this. One thing I figured I could do while I'm sitting inside is maybe just kind of go through, talk a little bit about the boards that I've gotten over the years in the quiver that I've built up, and kind of what each of them are for, the conditions I ride them in, the dimensions, and yeah, just kind of my thought behind them. So obviously I'm not a professional surfer, I'm just an amateur, so don't take anything I say as truth. This is just my personal preference. This is what I've learned in my experiences over the years, surfing and just kind of getting different boards and trying out different conditions and whatnot. So first though, this is the first board I'll talk about. This is Gras Surfboards. They're actually here in San Diego, California. But this is their modern 2. So this is definitely a small wave kind of groveler board. The dimensions of this board, it's 5'6", 19 3/4 inch wide and 2.5 inches thick, and it comes in just under 30 liters of volume. So it probably has about 2 to 3 extra liters of volume than like my standard shortboard does. So it's got a lot of float, it's got a lot of paddle power. You can tell the tail is obviously swallowtail, so it's good single to double V concave throughout the bottom of the board, pretty standard. I have it as a 5-pin setup, and sometimes I ride it as a quad, but a lot of times I ride it as a thruster. Actually, riding as a thruster, this thing's got a lot of drive, it's got a lot of release too. Yeah, but I've kind of ridden it both ways. Yeah. And I got this actually when I was in North Carolina. I got this brand new actually. The surf shop I worked at, I just ordered it through them. So luckily I was able to get it at cost, because I don't pay $700+ for a brand new surfboard. It's not worth it. I'm not good enough, and I don't have that money to spend. So luckily I was able to score this. I was able to do a little bit, when I ordered it, I did ask for a little bit of a tail dip. So I like that. It makes it a little bit unique. I've never seen one that looks exactly like this. This is my go-to board though for obviously small waves, under 3 feet, under 3 to 4 feet. Once it gets over 4 feet, probably won't ever ride this. There are a couple times though where I've ridden it on the East Coast during hurricane swells. It was a little bit bigger than the 4-foot range, but just really slopey and clean. And this board actually worked really well on that. So, but most of the time I just ride it in small waves, and yeah. I love this. I ride it a lot, and I've gotten a lot of good use out of it. Yeah, so this is the Surfboard Modern 2 surfboard. So the second board I'll talk about, my next board up, this is WRV, or Wave Riding Vehicles. It's their Generator model, and WRV is based out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. So this is an East Coast board. I've had this one for probably like 5 years or so now, so I've had it for a while. And this board itself is 5'9". It's 19.38 inches wide and 2.44 inches thick. And I think it comes out to like 28.6 liters of volume. So so a little bit less volume than my 5'6", but this board, I just have it as a thruster setup, obviously a squash tail. One thing that's cool about this board is, I think what kind of helps give it its paddle power is it has some extra width through the center of the board, and then as you get down to the tail, you can see how it tapers down twice here and then comes into a squash tail at the back. So I really like the design. It gives it a little bit more volume through the center and towards the front of the board, so obviously gives you more paddle power than like a standard shortboard would. Yeah, this board's definitely geared as well towards small waves, but definitely a little bit more responsive and can handle steeper waves and a little bit more critical waves than my 5'6". Obviously the board has a little bit more rocker. You can tell the nose itself is a little bit more pointed. So yeah, it can knife the takeoff a little bit better than the 5'6" can, but overall it's still geared for smaller waves. I've really surfed this thing in quite a lot of different conditions. I would say this is probably my most surfboard. It's really my go-to for anything like under head high. Yeah, I've gotten a bunch of fun waves on this board over the time I've had it. I've surfed it on the East Coast. I've surfed it out here on the West Coast, both in Northern California and here in Southern California. And it's actually also been out to Hawaii once. So it's got to experience a lot of different areas, a lot of different waves, and it has held strong. So I bought this actually used off of Craigslist. It was pretty much brand new when I bought it though. I think the guy bought it, surfed it like once or twice, and then just really kind of wasn't feeling it. But anyway, I picked it up, tried it out, and I've loved it ever since. So yeah, this is my 5'9" WRV Generator, and yeah, overall it's a really fun board. And so for the next board, this is Chilli Surfboards. It's their Periperi model, and it's really just a small wave, high performance surfboard. Definitely geared for small to medium sized waves. Dimensions of this board, it's 5'10", 19 inches wide, and 2 3/8 inches thick. The volume of the board is 27.8 liters, so a little bit less volume than my WRV. All in all, though, this board and then my 5'9" are pretty similar. I would say this one is probably geared towards a little bit more high performance. I got it as a 5-fin setup. I mainly ride as a thruster. I thought when I got it that it'd be good to have the quad set up for anytime maybe there were like some steep, fast kind of barreling type waves when a quad might benefit you. But all in all, I really haven't surfed it much as a quad. I really just kind of keep it as a thruster. And I haven't surfed it in a while. I like to save this board for definitely probably like head high to a little over head range for myself personally. I think anything smaller than that, it kind of bogs down. If you were a better surfer, if you're a professional, you could probably surf this thing pretty well in like knee-high waves. But myself personally, I'm not that good, so I try to save this board for when it's at least like head high. I got this from the surf shop I worked at as well in North Carolina, and I bought it at cost, so I was luckily able to order this brand new and only pay about half price for it. But otherwise I wouldn't have gotten it, like I said. The bottom though, obviously single to double V concave in the back, standard squash tail, and yeah, this thing is, I've surfed this thing on the East Coast, I've surfed it on the West Coast, all over California, and it's been to Hawaii as well. So I love this board, but I like to save it for when there's definitely some power to the waves. So I think really one reason why like this board caught my attention is actually the brand. For some reason I love the Chilli logo. It's always stuck out to me as something pretty cool and pretty unique. So that's definitely why I wanted to get one myself and at least try out the Chillis. But overall, yeah, good board. I don't surf it as often as I'd like to. But when the waves are pretty fun, at least in like that head high to maybe a little over head range, this thing's definitely the go-to board. So yeah, this is the 5'10" Chilli Periperi model. The fourth board I have is from Vernor Surfboards. It's actually their Scorpion model. And I got this board, I think Vernor is based out of Santa Cruz, I want to say, Santa Cruz, California. And I actually bought this board off of Craigslist about 1.5 years ago when I lived up in San Francisco. Really the reason is because the biggest board I had was 5'10", and anybody that has surfed or spent time up in Northern and Central California, pretty obvious that you're going to need some bigger boards in your quiver that can handle double overhead, plus waves. So I only thought it was logical to at least get a good solid 6.0 in my quiver that I could step up to once it got, in the solid overhead range. And yeah, so this board is 6.0, 19 5/8 inches wide, and 2 5/8 inches thick. I think it rounds out to about 31.9 liters of volume, so it's got quite a bit more volume than like my standard shortboard. And probably a little bit more volume than I would generally go for if I were to just get a standard 6.0. But the reason why I wanted the extra volume is because most of the time I was surfing Ocean Beach, San Francisco, and it's one of the hardest spots to paddle. There's so much ground you got to cover, so you really want to have as much foam as possible to just kind of get around and get yourself in position. So this was a good board. I think they say it's geared for shoulder high to double overhead. Again, I usually brought this out once it hit about 6 foot or so a little overhead, and then bigger. But yeah, this has been a good all-around board. I got this thing, it's not in the best shape, but really I didn't have much of an option. I just needed to get a couple boards, a couple step-up boards that would allow me to surf the bigger days. So yeah, I picked this up on Craigslist. Nothing brand new or nothing amazing, obviously, but for an amateur surfer, just looking to kind of get better and to improve, this was a great board. So obviously the setup though, it's got a good bit of rocker. Comes into like a rounded pintail at the back. It comes as a 5-fin as well, so you can ride it as a quad or a thruster. I want to say I've ridden it as both a quad and a thruster, but definitely mostly a thruster. And yeah, it really, I mean, just depending on your preference and the wave conditions, I think it could go well both as a quad or a thruster. I just think it's you know, your personal preference and the day at hand. So yeah, I definitely recommend this board. I'd be curious to just get actually a brand new board from Vernor at some point and just you know, see how it feels. Get one that's a little bit more custom for myself and my weight. But yeah, this thing got the job done well up in Northern California, and here in Southern California, I've rode it like out at Black's Beach on some of the bigger winter days. But yeah, overall, I don't surf this board too often, but once it gets like solid, like overhead to like close to that double overhead range, this is definitely the board I go for. And yeah, I've got a bunch of fun waves on it so far, so hope to surf it again soon. But yeah, Vernor Surfboards, especially if you're out here on the West Coast, you've never checked them out, I definitely recommend checking them out. Support the West Coast brands. Alright, and last but not least, this is my big Dawg. This is my official step-up board that I got last year when I was up in Ocean Beach, San Francisco. I actually picked it up at a yard sale. I lived in the Sunset District, and I was just driving around one day surfing, and sure enough, a guy was having a yard sale and had a couple of boards out, a couple of step-ups, and I just happened to be looking for a step-up, and this thing was really almost brand new. It doesn't even have many pressure dings on it, and I got it for a really good deal. So I wasn't necessarily that day planning on grabbing a board, but when I saw it and I saw the price and what he was willing to sell it for, and just how kind of perfect it fit what I was looking for, I couldn't pass up on it. So anyway though, this is Gras Surfboards, G-R-A-S Surfboards. I don't know too much about the shaper or the brand. I want to say it's just like a local guy up in the San Francisco Bay Area that shapes these, but I don't know if there's an actual website or much of a following with the brand. This thing was probably hand shaped though, is my guess. But again, this is a 6'6". I want to say it's 19¼ inches wide and then 2¼ inches thick. So compared to my 6'0", it's a little bit thinner and it's a little bit narrower. But obviously there's a little bit of extra volume in the extra 6 inches of length. My guess is it's probably about 33 liters. So you know, maybe 2 extra liters than my 6'0". I haven't really surfed this board but a handful of times. Every time I have surfed it, it's been like double overhead, Ocean Beach, and I've been scared shitless. So I don't have any clips of me surfing or anything. It's been more just survival sessions, but I have gotten some insanely fun waves on this. The last time I surfed it was back in November of 2019, around Thanksgiving, up at Ocean Beach, and it was, I want to say they were saying it was like 10 to 15 foot that day, and this thing handled perfectly. I love having this board in the quiver. I haven't surfed it as much as I'd like to, but nonetheless, it's a good board to have, especially, you know, if you're in an area where you get solid swell, you know, certain times of the year, especially like double overhead plus. So yeah, if you are looking for a step up, Gras Surfboards, I guess I recommend them. But yeah, and so also this board came as a 5-fin setup. I've surfed it as both, I think, but to be honest, I'm not good enough. I don't have enough experience surfing and trying out quad versus thruster to give you much of an opinion on the difference. Tail, you can see, is another rounded pintail. So this thing holds really well though. So if you draw a line with this thing, it'll hold really well in the wave, which is something that I did notice the few times I've surfed it. So I do have a lot of confidence when I'm surfing this board. It's got a lot of paddle power. It can get you in early. Yeah, and overall it's a good board, but you know, hopefully I can surf it more here in the near future. That's really it for me though. Just figured I'd kind of go through my boards, talk a little bit about them, and how I kind of built up my quiver over the years and why I have each board. Again, I'm not a professional, so don't take anything I said today as truth. Just my perspective and kind of my opinion gained through my experience of surfing these boards. So if you have any questions or just like some more info about any of the boards or my opinion or my experience of surfing them or whatever, feel free to leave questions or whatever in the comments section, and I will make sure to get back to you. But again, thank you for the time, and if you haven't done so and you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that button in the bottom right corner and subscribe. Wait, which corner? I don't know. One of those corners. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, that subscribe button. If you're still interested and would like to see more videos, I plan to keep putting them out. But yeah, feel free to subscribe and join the journey and check out some of my other videos as well that I've posted. Again, I hope everybody stays safe during this crazy time with the coronavirus going around. That's it for me. And I guess I will see you next time. Peace!